The meeting ends, and everyone starts packing up. You said everything right, clear updates, strong numbers. You even anticipated objections before they came. Your manager nodded the whole time. Great work, they said. But as people leave the room, something shifts. A quick side conversation happens between your manager and someone else. Quiet, casual, almost invisible. You walk out feeling confident. A week later, a decision gets announced. A new lead is assigned to the project. It's not you, it's someone who spoke less than you, contributed less than you, delivered less than you, and suddenly you're trying to make sense of something that doesn't add up. Because from your perspective, the game looked fair. Work hard, be competent, be reliable. But what you didn't see is that the decision wasn't made in that meeting, right? And it wasn't based on what you said. It was based on something else, something that rarely gets explained, something most employees don't even realize they're being judged on. If you want to stop getting blindsided by workplace systems nobody explains, subscribe, because once you see this rule, you won't be able to unsee it. Most people believe office politics is about likability, or manipulation, or who talks the most in meetings. They think if they avoid drama, stay professional, and consistently perform, they'll naturally rise. That performance will speak for itself. That fairness will eventually correct everything. That belief is comforting. And it's wrong. Because the real rule nobody talks about is this. In corporate environments, decisions are not made based on performance alone. They are made based on perceived alignment and controlled narrative. And those are not the same thing. From the outside, it looks like people are being evaluated on what they do. Structurally, they're being evaluated on what their work signals, and signals can be shaped long before you realize they exist. Here's what most employees never see. Inside every company, there's an invisible layer of decision-making that runs parallel to actual work. It's not documented. It's not part of your job description. And it's rarely discussed openly, but it influences almost everything. Promotions, opportunities, protection during layoffs, access to high visibility work. This layer is built on something simple, narrative control. Every employee has a narrative attached to them, not their actual performance, not their intentions, right? But the story others tell about them when they're not in the room. Reliable, difficult, high potential, not ready yet. Strong technically, but lacks leadership. Good, but not strategic. These labels form quietly. They spread informally. And once they stabilize, they become extremely hard to change. What makes this powerful is that most decisions happen in rooms you're not in. And in those rooms, no one is reviewing your entire body of work. They're referencing your narrative, short summaries, quick judgments, compressed signals, because organizations don't have the time or incentive to deeply reevaluate everyone every time. So they rely on what's already been established. That's the real system. And it rewards something very different than pure performance. There's a second layer to this. Because narratives don't just appear randomly. They are built through consistent signals over time. And here's where the rule becomes uncomfortable. The system doesn't just observe your work, it observes how your work is framed, who talks about it, when it gets mentioned, how it's positioned in relation to priorities. You might think delivering results is enough, but what the system is actually tracking is, does your work align with what leadership currently values? Does it reduce risk for your manager? Does it make someone else look good? Does it fit into the story the organization is trying to tell about itself? That sounds subtle, but it changes everything. Because two people can produce similar results and end up with completely different outcomes. One becomes high potential, the other becomes solid but replaceable. Same effort, different narrative, and most people never realize this is happening. What makes this even harder to see is timing. Narratives are often formed early, sometimes within the first few months of a role, sometimes based on a single project or a single moment where expectations weren't met, or a single interaction that left the wrong impression. And once that initial signal is set, everything after that gets filtered through it. If you're seen as strategic, your ideas get more attention. If you're seen as reactive, your ideas get questioned. If you're seen as leadership material, your mistakes are forgiven. If you're not, those same mistakes become proof. It's not fair, but it is consistent. Because the system is optimizing for efficiency, not accuracy, and changing a narrative requires far more effort than maintaining one. Now look at the consequences. Quietly, over time, you keep working hard, taking on more responsibilities, solving problems, helping others, but your narrative doesn't move, so your compensation plateaus. Your visibility stays limited. You get passed over for stretch roles. Feedback becomes vague. Just keep doing what you're doing, which sounds positive, but structurally it means we're not updating your position in the system. And eventually, something else happens. You start being used for stability, not growth. You become the person who keeps things running, not the one who moves forward. That's the trap, because from your perspective, you're doing everything right. But from the system's perspective, you've already been categorized. And unless something disrupts that narrative, it will keep repeating itself. This is where most people make a critical mistake. They try to fix outcomes by increasing effort, more work, more hours, more reliability, but effort doesn't change narrative by default. Signals do. And signals are shaped by visibility, positioning, and alignment, not just output. This is the part nobody explains, because it's not officially acknowledged. But it's deeply embedded in how organizations function. Managers are incentivized to reduce uncertainty. Leaders are incentivized to back people who already fit. HR systems are built to reinforce existing classifications, not constantly challenge them. So the safest decision is usually promote who already looks promotable. Trust who already feels aligned. Invest in who already fits the story. That's why the same types of people keep advancing, not always the best performers, but the ones whose narratives are already aligned with what the system rewards. So the real reframe is this. Office politics is not about manipulation. It's about understanding that work exists inside a system of perception. And if you ignore that system, it will define you anyway, without your input, without your awareness. The question isn't just, am I doing good work? It's, what is my work signal? How is it being interpreted? Who is carrying my narrative when I'm not there? Because that's where decisions are actually made. And once you see this, certain things start to make sense. Why some people move up faster than expected. Why others stay stuck despite strong performance. Why feedback feels inconsistent. Why effort doesn't always translate into opportunity. It's not random. It's structural. The system was never designed to fully reward effort. It was designed to process signals efficiently. And if you don't manage those signals, the organization will do it for you, quietly, consistently, and usually in a way that's hard to reverse. So the rule nobody talks about is simple. Your career is not just built on what you do, it's built on the narrative that forms around what you do. And that narrative is being written whether you're paying attention or not, because in the end, the organization doesn't promote effort. It promotes the version of you it has already decided is real. And if you don't shape that version early, you'll spend years trying to escape it, without realizing the decision was made long before you knew you were being judged.